we're gonna do today, if you care to sort of generalize. So here are a couple of the generalizations. If you have A over C over B over C, this is when the bottoms are the same. This becomes A over B. And similarly, if the numerator is the same, so you've got like A over C over A over C. I'm sorry, that I need to change that one. That B, this always becomes B over C. So there's some things there to help. Now, your problems are not numerical. They are expressions. They call them complex fractions. And so we'll look at some of these together here to help out. So the strategy is always to multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, so Paige, what is the reciprocal of the bottom here? What is the flip of the bottom?
X squared over 4.
X squared over 4, right? And for a while, you definitely want to write that. Okay, so on the bottom, you should get 1. Like everything should cancel. Now, if you want to, you can write this out, 4x squared over 4x squared, and then keep going here. But you want to show that the bottom becomes 1.
Right.
Now on the top, if you haven't done this in a while, you multiply the tops and then you multiply the bottoms. Now I know in our examples that I gave you earlier, there was cancellations. We should see those maybe in the next problem, but for this one, there are no cancellations. It's x to the power of 3 because you add the exponents. And 25 times 4 is 100. So it's x cubed over 100, which is x cubed over 100. So anything divided by 1 is just 1. Any questions on that or anything unclear?
No.
All right, will you try number 2 for me? And you are seeing my screen, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, give this a try and let me know what you come up with, please. This one does have some cancellations.
I got 1 for the numerator and U for the denominator.
All right, let's take a look at that. Multiply top and bottom by U over 4. And like I said, there's going to be some cancellation. So my preference here, rather than like multiplying, I would start canceling. So the 4's cancel, and that leaves a 1 and a 1. This U on top cancels with one of the U's, so you cancel out the exponent. And you're right, 1 over U is what's left over. So not too difficult. We'll just keep going through a few more of these, and then we'll talk about the harder ones that are coming up here. So same thing here. You can multiply the top and bottom by the reciprocal. Oh, that's an X. That's an X, not a Y. Well, that's negligent. Okay, X plus 4 over Y, X plus 4 over Y. All right, so the bottom, eventually you're just like, yeah, it cancels. It's 1. Great. The numerator and the denominator you sometimes leave in this factored form. You don't necessarily want to distribute in. The numbers come before the variables, and that is your final answer. Y squared X plus 4 over 4Y. Okay, but we can cancel. I didn't see that. So this Y on the bottom cancels with one of the Y's on the top. So your answer just becomes Y the top and 4 on the bottom. Like that. All right, now is the goal to, is this like a homework assignment? Do we need to get through all of these, or can I sort of go to the more difficult ones that you might see and talk about those?
You can do the more difficult ones.
Okay. All right, well, actually 5 kind of does that. Like 5. Let's go to 7 first. Actually, let me do an intermediate problem. So the kinds of problems I thought you were going to see would be something more like this: 2 over 1 minus x thirds. Okay, and the instructions will say something like to simplify. And there's some rules here. There's rules for like what makes these things simplify or like pretty, and it's no fractions within a fraction. And that means you can't have a fraction on the top or the bottom. Now, I didn't make this rule. This is just the rule, you know, the rules of the game here. You have to get rid of fractions. So you essentially look at the bottom here and you're like, all right, let me come off to the side here. How would I simplify this thing? Well, 1 is really a fraction. How can I write 1 as a fraction?
1 over 1.
1 over 1, yeah, just like that. Okay, but the problem is you can't combine the denominators unless they're the same. So how do you make them the same? Well, you got to multiply the top and bottom by the same number. So this becomes 3 over 3 minus x over 3. And now we can combine the numerator, 3 minus x over 3. So all of this right here, everything we just did is the bottom. So you're sort of taking a detour on this problem. You're like, all right, it's not 2 over 1 minus x over 3. It's now 2 over 3 minus x over 3. And now you have a common situation of what you had in the previous problems. You can now multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, so your goal is to make the top and the bottom into a single fraction and then multiply by the reciprocal, just like we've been doing. Now the bottom becomes 1. We've seen that a billion times, bunch of times here. So this 2 you have to rewrite as a fraction. It's 2 over 1. Let me just clean this up. This is really a 3 minus x. So now you multiply the tops, multiply the bottom. So it's 6 over 3 minus x. Okay, and that's kind of like a starter question here. So let's have you try one for me. Let's go 4 over x minus 1/2. Let's have you try this one here, please. If you have questions, let me know along the way. How are you doing on this one, Paige?
Slightly confused.
Okay, so we're looking at the bottom here. How do you write x as a fraction?
1 over 1.
X over 1. You always can write it over 1. Okay, so now what do you need to do to make a common denominator? What is this 2? What does this 1 need to become that's on the right?
2.
2. So you multiply the top and bottom by 2, and you get 2x over 2 minus 1/2.
Okay.
Okay, so now the bottoms are the same. So now when the bottoms are the same, you can write it as 2x minus 1 over 2. So the goal is it's kind of like when you're adding fractions for the first time, you've got to make a common denominator. And we've got that now. So you just bring the numerator over each time. So from here, you can multiply the top and bottom by the reciprocal, by 2 over 2x minus 1, 2 over 2x minus 1. But in the numerator, this 4, you have to say, let me rewrite that as a fraction. It's 4 over 1, so that you can multiply it by the top and the bottom. And again, everything in the bottom cancels to 1. But the numerator is 8 over 2x minus 1.
Right. So would you?
That's it. There's nothing else to cancel. Like this is really in parentheses. You can't do anything more from this spot.
So it's the 2x minus 1 from the denominator, not the. So it would, so the 2's cancel out, but why doesn't the 2x minus 1 cancel out?
They do. See, these cancel out. The bottom always goes to 1 because you have the same thing on the top as you do on the bottom, same thing on the top as you do on the bottom. But where does this 2x minus 1? It comes from here.
Okay.
We'll try another one. That's why I'm not jumping into the ones from your worksheet, because they get a lot harder from where we're at. So let's try this again. Let's go x over x minus 2/5. Okay, we'll work on this one together. Okay, so on the left here, how do you write x as a fraction?
X over 1.
X over 1, yeah. Now, what do you multiply the top and bottom over here by to get the same bottom of 5?
5.
5. So you multiply top by 5 and the bottom by 5. But we're limiting, it's like we're limiting our focus to the bottom here. So this becomes 5x over 5 minus 2 over 5. Okay, now since the bottoms are the same, you can combine the numerators. This becomes 5x minus 2 over 5. Is there anything in that you'd like me to explain again?
Mm-hmm.
We're just combining the numerators after making the denominators the same. So the numerator is still x and x, okay? And the point here is that you have a fraction, a single fraction. I know you could say, hey, I got a single fraction over here, but you had an expression that was being subtracted from it. You want a single thing in the bottom, call it that. And this is the step where you multiply by the reciprocal. You multiply by 5 over 5x minus 2, 5 over 5x minus 2.
So wait, so for the numerator, when you multiply x over 1 by 5 over 5x minus 2,
Yes.
you can't cancel out the x's.
No,
right?
no, yeah, and that's really important. No, you cannot. On the bottom, everything cancels, but on the top, you generally just leave it as 5x over 5x minus 2. That's from here. Because on the bottom, everything cancels out.
Okay.
Do you have this down in your notes?
Yeah.
Okay, because I want to give you one kind of like this, if that's okay. Let's go y over y plus 2/3. Give this one a try, please. All right, do you have an answer for me, or are you still working on this one?
I have an answer.
What is your final answer?
I got 3y over 3y plus 2.
Like
I
this
think
on the,
yeah.
okay, looks pretty good. So let's work through this again. So you multiply the top and bottom by 3. And then you combine the bottoms, 3y plus 2 over 3. And then yes, it does turn into that. Okay, fantastic. All right, so let me pull up kind of a slightly more difficult question, and we'll work through it together. I'll have you try one. So here it's kind of like an intermediate step from the one we did before. You've got two fractions in the bottom, and you need to make a common denominator. Okay, so in this case, you have a 5 and an a, and it's really 1a if you want, but the common denominator is going to be 5a. Okay, so sometimes you have to multiply both of them by something, and in this case, it's a and 5 and 5. You've seen this before in either another class or a different part of this class. So it's 4a over 5a minus 20 over 5a, like that. So the common denominator could require manipulation of both. Okay, so now on the bottom, it becomes 4a minus 20 over 5a, a squared. And then again, you want to multiply by the reciprocal here. So it ends up being 5a cubed over 4a minus 20.
Okay.
Any questions on that? Because I'll have you do one that's a little easier than this, but on your own here.
No.
Okay. The reason we're doing all this is your assignment has like a huge gap in the difficulty. So we're just filling those in with these problems. So give this one a try, please.
Would it be 27x over 29?
Looks like a lot of the right numbers there. I'm not sure. I'd have to work this out here, and I'll do that now. The common denominator is, is a 3x on the bottom. And so I think that's where you got the 29 from. So that makes sense to me. 27 over 3x plus 2 over 3x. And then 29 over 3x. And then a 9 on top. And then, yeah, you multiply by the reciprocal, 3x over 29. You notice there's just a lot of writing on these.
Mhm.
It does get worse, actually. So, yeah, well done. Rarely well done. So let me go back to this is kind of the next increase in difficulty. We're going to go back to number 7 on your page, your worksheet that you sent over today. So what's different about this one is that a couple of things. One is that the fractions are in the numerator, not the denominator, but it's the same approach. But you've also got a slightly more complicated common denominator to figure out. Now, if you're ever just like, I don't know, I have no idea what to do, you can always just multiply each side by the other, which is not what I did there. Let me do multiply them by the other right there. And then b plus 3, b plus 3. And if that's your fallback. There's a couple of times where that'll make a little more work for you, but in general, it's a pretty good strategy. So it becomes a cubed over a times b plus 3. And you want to resist the urge to try to distribute at this point. Okay, and you also want to resist the urge to cancel, because the whole point of what we're doing is to not go backwards. You want to combine them. So your fraction here is a b plus 3 on the bottom, a cubed plus 2 b plus 3 all over a squared. Now we're not done because there's a fraction within a fraction, but and the other thing, this problem has a lot of letters, but these are symbolic problems. You're not going to get a number very often. So I'm going to ask you, Paige, here, how do you write a squared as a fraction?
A squared over 1.
A squared over 1. So when you multiply by the reciprocal, it's 1 over a squared, 1 over a squared. And you still have to do that. It's always the bottom that you multiply. Not you don't do anything at the top. You don't change the top. It's always the bottom that you change to the reciprocal. Okay, so again, there's a lot going on here. So we've got in the top a cubed plus 2 times b plus 3. On the bottom, the a to the 1 times the a squared makes a cubed b plus 3. And while it looks like there might be some cancellations, you have to remember there's implied parentheses in the numerator and the denominator. They're implied, meaning you've got to write them, and that kind of like prevents you from. It's like a impenetrable wall. You can't just cancel stuff. So this is it. This is your final answer on that one. Any questions on that? We'll do another one together, but
Okay.
just because I know there's a lot here. It's just look at all these letters. We don't say that though when we read books. We say, oh. Did you get all this down? I'm sorry. I know I moved too fast.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, fantastic. Oh, quick question here. Favorite Halloween candy?
Honestly, probably a Milky Way.
A Milky Way.
Yeah.
Okay, now are you going to be handing out candy or going out and getting candy?
I'm going to be handing out candy.
Okay, so hopefully you got some Milky Ways to hand out, and you can
hopefully
you can put a few in your pocket. All right. Okay, so this problem here, number 8, it's kind of like the previous one. The fraction's in the bottom, okay, and there's a fraction in the numerator, but we're gonna focus our attention on the bottom here. And I mentioned this in the previous problem. If you're ever unsure what the common denominator is between the 2 and the u squared, the 2 and the u squared, you just multiply the other side by each one. So 2 and 2, u squared and u squared. All right, so from here, you get 2v squared over 2u squared plus, and it's preferred to go in alphabetical order. So it would be u squared v over 2u squared, like that. And then u squared over 2v in the top. Is that okay so far? Let you get
Yeah.
caught up. Get you get caught up, yeah. Okay, now in the bottom, if you've done it correctly, you have a common denominator, which is what you want. You want to write one denominator. So it's 2v squared plus u squared v. And I can't see your handwriting or anything, but just make sure your v's and u's look distinct enough that you can tell the difference and your instructor can tell the difference. Right. And this is again where you want to multiply by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal is just the flip, change the top and the bottom. Like that. And again, what's really nice is that bottom, everything cancels in the bottom. So you don't have to try to figure what that would be. It's bad. It's really bad. The numerators though, you got a u squared and a u squared. So that becomes u to the 4th power. And on the bottom, you have a choice here. You can either leave it in factored form. Make sure you have your parentheses. So some students put parentheses around everything, which is a little bit too much, but it can help avoid issues here. Or you can multiply that v in. But before you do that, do you see that the 2's cancel in the top and the bottom? That 2 cancels with that 2.
Yeah.
And the reason you can do that here and not in some of the other problems is because there's nothing added over here on the right. This is one term on the bottom, even though it's multiplied together, it's one term. So that's why you can get away with doing that. And then, yeah, that's it. I mean, there's a couple other ways you could write this answer. Yeah, at least one other way, but this, if you could get this, you're pretty good. You're close enough.
Okay.
All right, let me have you try one on your own here. It won't be as difficult as this, but just to get you back here in the game a little bit. All right. Go ahead and try this one for me, please.
I got 32a squared over 9 to the 3rd minus 32.
But what is on the bottom? I'm sorry. 8 to the 3rd?
9 to the 3rd
9 to the 3rd?
minus 32.
Are we doing the same problem here? A over 8 minus 4 over a squared?
Yeah.
Okay, because there's no 9, so I'm just okay. Go look here. All right, let me look at this. with you. So the common denominator is
Oh, never mind. I thought the A was a 9.
yeah. Do you want to maybe wrap this up or give me take another look at this?
Yeah. Okay, I got 32a squared over a to the third minus 32.
Okay, that does look pretty good here. So let me just work through it here on the left, and you can just see if this work matches your own. So you end up getting a cubed over 8a squared minus 32 over 8a squared over 4. So that's equal sign here, a cubed minus 32 over 8a squared over 4. Oh, this is another point I guess I hadn't mentioned yet, is sometimes it's good to make that big fraction bar like really big, make it really clear where the separation is between them.
Okay.
Now, I think your answer, what you gave me is you flip the top. You actually only ever flip the bottom.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the bottom here you multiply by 1/4 and 1/4. It's the top that never changes. So it becomes a cubed over minus 32 over 32a squared as your final answer. So only the top, or only the bottom gets flipped. Top stays the same. All right, let's go back to your worksheet. We'll look at number 6. Let me know when you're ready for us to look at this problem together.
I'm ready.
Okay, when you look at the fraction on the bottom, x minus 1 over 9 plus 9 over x minus 1, what is the common denominator? Any idea what that might be?
Would it be 9 parentheses x minus 1?
Yes. And to get there, you do what we've done the last few problems, is you multiply the top and bottom by the other one. So you get, and this is where you got to be careful. Do you want to FOIL? No, you just want to write it out. It does seem like more writing, but you're not, you don't know how you're going to use it yet. Now the numbers are pretty safe to multiply out, but generally not the other ones. Okay, so now you do have that common denominator. Now this is like, I'm okay with this. I actually kind of like working things out more vertically or kind of underneath, especially when there's a lot of writing involved. So I would just go 9x minus 1, and then you've got x minus 1 plus 81 in the numerator, like that. And then what I do is I sort of like indicate that, that is your new denominator here. Now, if you don't like that, you can move it up over here, but you see you do start running out of room pretty quickly in these problems, unless you write really small. Okay, and then this is a problem where you do have to flip the bottom. So there's quite a bit to do. I'm just going to restart it over here in the sort of the middle of the page. So you're going to multiply. Actually, let me do it this way. All right, let me grab this. All right, so the first thing I want to do is just make the x minus 1 a a fraction. So I'll put it x minus 1 over 1. And that helps for clarity. So the flip is 9 parentheses x minus 1 over this, all this mess, x minus 1 plus 81. You got to write it again. Like that. And then in the numerator, you can see that you get 2 of these x minus 1s. So you get 9 x minus 1, x minus 1 over x minus 1, x minus 1 plus 81. You know, again, but all this stuff on the bottom cancels. So you're really just focusing on the top. Probably more errors are made just writing it down improperly after you get to this, because there's so much you're writing. Now, question to you, Paige, can you cancel anything in the top and the bottom here?
Yes.
Okay, so remember there's parentheses.
Oh, then no.
And no, yeah, and it's because like it looks like it, but you have to have something like on the outside here, like if there's a 9 out here and an 81 out here, or an x minus 1 out here and an x minus 1 out here, then you could. Problem is you only have x minus 1 in this first term. But yeah, we can see why this would be very, very confusing. Okay, let's go to another problem here. Let's look at number 10. All right, so what do you see here, Paige? Tell me what kind of stands out to you when you look at this problem, if anything.
There's already a common denominator.
Yeah, that's really good. So it becomes 4x over x plus 1. So we're really happy about that. I'm sorry, x minus 4. Wow, that's really bad. That's so bad. Okay. All right. So you got one fraction at the bottom. Great. On the top, okay, on the top, and this is one of those where if you just blindly go x squared, and 3x, like it works, but it creates a little extra work at the end. So let's remind ourselves, how do you find a common denominator? Well, you need the number. Since there's a 1 here next to the x squared, you look at the 3 and the 1, you're like, all right, it's 3. Okay. And then you look at the variables and you're like, okay, I want the higher power, it's x squared. So rather than just like being like, all right, you know, x squared, 3x, you look for what it's lacking. Like, what is the 3x lacking to get to 3x squared? What is it missing to get to 3x squared?
Multiplying by 3.
Well, you already got a 3. 3x to 3x squared. So this is what I'm asking you. Like, how do you go from 3x to 3x squared?
Oh, you multiply by x.
By x. Okay. Yeah. And then same thing. How do you go from x squared to 3x squared?
You multiply by 3.
By 3. And that saves you from having to do some other stuff down the road of canceling. All right. So that's that gives you 4x on the top and 6 over here. Then you combine the numerators, 4x plus 6 over 3x squared, x minus 4 over x plus 1. So now what do we do at this step?
You multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator.
Yes, x plus 1, x minus 4, x plus 1, x minus 4. So that's 4x plus 6, x plus 1 over 3x squared, x minus 4. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay, so I want you to try number 9, slightly easier. Same concepts though. You got to get the common denominator in the numerator, the denominator, flip, multiply. Take a minute or two and see if you can work that out, and then we'll look at it together.
You find a common denominator for the numerator, right?
Yes, and it would be, I'll help out here, it's 36.
Yeah.
How are you doing on this one, Paige?
Okay, I think. So I got to the part where you multiply the reciprocal of the denominator to the
Yeah,
numerator.
and you don't see, what you don't have to do is you don't have to distribute. So like if your final answer is 5x 4x squared minus 225, you can leave it like that.
Oh, okay.
Over 3620 minus x squared. Okay. There is not there, so you will get some problems in like the next section of this unit where there are some cancellations, but it's going to be more factoring, like FOIL, or factoring of like difference of squares, perfect square trinomials, a equals 1, stuff like that, greatest common factors. But if you understood this, your test questions will be more like the ones we did earlier on this, like the 1 through 4 on the the worksheet.
Okay.
So pretty much out of time. I skipped number 5. I'll just briefly show you why. The common denominator is quite awful. So on the bottom, you need to multiply the top, or you need to multiply each side by the other one, 2x minus 5, and then x minus 5. It's just bad. It's really bad. So we won't be doing that. But that is it for today, Paige. Great job. Thanks for letting me help you out today on this Saturday. Hope you get to do something fun for the rest of the day, and I'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Have a great night, great day. Bye now.